Shalom Aleichem. We are in chapter 9 of Bava Batra in the Mishnah Yomi program, Mishnayot Gimel Dal 3 and 4 today. Now we just talked about what happens when a father passes away, leaving adult children and minor children. So here's Gimel. Hiniach bonim gedolim getonim. Again, we have adult children and minors. Hishbichu gedolim et nechosim. And the older children, the adults, they go ahead and get workers. They hire workers to improve or work on the property of their father. Hishbichu le'emtza. The profit goes to the middle, meaning it goes to the shared estate. They have not yet divided the estate and portioned up the fields to all of the children. So they're investing, they're hiring, they're planting, they're harvesting, so that profit goes to all of the brothers. Im amru, but if the older brothers say, Re'u ma shehiniach lanu abba, see what our father has left us, look at this property. Harei anu osin v'ochlim, we are going to work on this property, and we want to keep the profits. Hishbichu la'atzman, then what they improve is for themselves. So this stipulation is made in front of the court, and they're asking for the properties to be assessed right now, so that they can get the profit and the minor brothers will still get their fair share. V'chena isha, and also a wife, a widow in this case. In the Gemara they explain a wife doesn't typically inherit the husband's property. That's one of the things we saw in the first Mishnah of chapter 8. So the case is she was married to her uncle, and her father had already passed away, and when her uncle/husband passes away, then she and her sisters are dividing his estate. So this wife is hishbicha et nechosim. She's improving the estate. Again, she's using estate money to hire workers and arrange production on these fields or orchards. Hishbicha le'emsa. The profit goes to all of the heirs. Im amra, if she says in front of court, Re'u ma sheniach li baili, see what my husband has left me, assess my share of the portion. Harei ani osev v'chelet, I'm going to manage this property and improve it and make more money from it. Hishbicha le'atzma, then she keeps whatever profit and improvement she makes. Mishnah Dalet, ha'achin hashutafin, the brothers that are partners, meaning they have shutfut, they have partnership in the estate of their deceased father. They have not parceled up the estate yet. They're still working together on the shared estate. Shenafal echad mehen le'umnut, one of them fell to a job, meaning a job for the king or the government, and this is a profitable position, like he's the guy who will now run the royal distillery and make the royal whiskey, and it's a profitable venture. Nafol le'emsa, so the profits are shared by all of the brothers. Now the Gemara, they explain, this is when he's picked for the job because he's part of this family. Perhaps their deceased father was the royal whiskey distiller, and so now they want to continue the family name, so the king wants the son, maybe the oldest son or the smartest son, to go ahead and keep running it. However, if the government is picking this particular brother because he has a special talent, not because of the family, then whatever profit he makes is because he was hired by the government so that he would keep himself. And it sounds strange in America, but over in England they have all these dukes and lords and the like, and those are inherited positions, and often they were doing a specific job for the king or for the government, and it was sort of an inherited position. So that's kind of what we're talking about here in the Mishnah. So what about chola? If he gets sick, and he needs to pay for a doctor, medicine, he has to pay for it himself. Now in the Gemara, they explain that's only when it was his fault that he got sick, that he has to pay for it. And this is the famous Gemara. It's in Bava Batra, Kuf Mem Dalid, like Komodo dragon, 144. De Amar Rabbi Chanina, Hakol bidei Shemayim, everything is in the hands of heaven, Chutz mitzinim pachim, except for cold breeze traps. Shenemar, he cites a pasuk in Mishlei. Tzinim pachim, the cold and traps, bederech, on the road, Ikesh, a crooked road, Shomer nafsho yirchab mehem, someone who's careful about his soul will distance himself from the danger of cold. So if he didn't put on a jacket and he got sick, that's his fault and he pays. But if it was just a virus going around, then the brothers, the estate would actually pay for his refuah and for the refuah of any of the brothers. So if your grandmother or your mother ever told you to put on a coat, that's the Gemara in Bava Basra, Kuf Mem Daled, and it shows up in other places as well. The Tosfot here asks an important question. We have another Gemara in Brachos Daf 33, Hakol bidei Shemaim chutz miyirat Shemaim. Everything's in the hands of heaven except the fear of heaven. So what he's saying, everything's in the hands of heaven except, catching a cold because you didn't wear a jacket, or everything's in the hand of heaven except for Yiras Shamayim, fear of God. So Tosfos explains, one's talking about midos and personality traits and working on self-development. The other one's just talking about things that happen to you, physical things that happen, when you go out, walk outside the door without a coat on. And while we're here, the next Tosfos on Kufmen Daled Amud Beis, he actually points out that heat is worse than cold. If it's cold, you can get a blanket. If it's hot, you can't do much about that. So that can be even worse. We should be careful of extreme heat, extreme cold, especially to take care of children and elderly people who are especially susceptible to these. But back to our regularly scheduled Mishnah. Ha'achin she'asu miktzatan shushbinut b'chai ha'av. Now, again, the father's passed away. The brothers are sharing the estate. If some of the brothers did shushvinut, now shushvinut means they went to someone's wedding and brought food and gifts. It's like the groomsmen. So if when the father was alive, he sent some of his sons with gifts, like a barrel of wine or some nice things for the wedding, to celebrate the wedding, then chazra shushvinut chazra le'emsa. So then when the gifts are returned, so one of the brothers gets married, then the people he sent gifts to and went and celebrated the wedding, they come and celebrate his wedding. So those gifts accrue to the entire estate, not just the one brother getting married. Shehashushvinut, that this groomsman, the gift giving, reciprocal gift giving, nigbet bebetin, it can actually be collected in court. So if Ruvain sends gifts and goes and celebrates the wedding, goes to Sheva Brachos, brings food, brings wine and chicken and oil and everything to Shimon, and then Reuven's son is getting married and Shimon doesn't send gifts and doesn't come celebrate, he can actually get sued in court for the value of the gifts. The idea behind this concept of shushvinut is to spread out the cost of making a wedding. And it's not just the wedding, it's the Sheva Brachot, it's 7 days of celebration and feasting and partying. It's to spread it around the community. So when one person gets married, all of his friends chip in, they come and they celebrate with him and they bring food and drink and gifts. And then when those guys get married or their children gets married, then the family reciprocates and also sends gifts so that people are sort of sharing in making the wedding, and people aren't taking loans against their house just to make a wedding for their daughter. I've heard such things actually happen. The Mishnah concludes, Aval, but a different case, a sholeach lechaveiro kadayayin v'kadei if somebody's getting married, and instead of going to celebrate with him and bringing gifts, he just sends something. He sends him a barrel of wine or a barrel of oil for the wedding. Ein nigbin bebetin. That's not collectible in court if he doesn't reciprocate the gift. Mipnei shehen gemilut chasadim. That's simply kindness. So it's not reciprocated. It's not collectible if the recipient does not give back to the giver. It's only when someone goes and celebrates with the bride and groom, with the chatan kala at the wedding or the sheva brachot, that's when the reciprocation is required. Yashav kochachem, Hashem should save all of us from extreme heat and cold. Sei gesund.